It may be a brand new day for Spider-Man, but how do you explain these other guys? For the webslinger's fourth movie, Marvel's bringing in the Punisher, the Hulk, and a few more mysteries we think we have some answers to. I tell you what, they better have the Sting song in the movie. Got a brand new day. I'm starting up a brand new day. I'm not going to play that right now on the drums.
Imagine this, Spider-Man versus the Punisher. They're butting heads over how to deal with a gang war as Tombstone and Mr. Negative take over New York streets. And they're all contending with Silver Sable's mercenary squad, which, surprise, includes the Hulk. Meanwhile, a mysterious new Spider-Girl in a familiar black costume shows up. Also, clones! How could all these pieces fit together? Well, let's wind it back a little bit before we get there. It's been reported that Brand New Day will be a street-level Spider-Man movie. New director Daniel Destin Cretton apparently wanted that. Based on what we know so far, we believe that's technically true, and that Spidey won't go to space or another universe. But it still has to build to the grandiose Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. Plot-wise, it's obvious that the latter will take cues from the 2015 Secret Wars comics, in which many universes are destroyed, leaving one world ruled by Doctor Doom for the heroes to fight on. However, this is the one time that Marvel Studios is going to be making a movie called Secret Wars. And one thing fans know about the original 1984 Marvel superhero Secret Wars series is that it's where Spider-Man's black suit debuted, the one that eventually became Venom. A studio that loves fan service as much as Marvel can't pass up putting Holland in that black suit on whatever version of Doom's battle world they construct. While it definitely won't just be about symbiotes, we think Brand New Day will provide a lot of help to ensure that happens while remaining a street-level story. The goo from space will remain at street level, for now. So far, the element of Brand New Day that fans have speculated about most is the casting of Stranger Things actress Sadie Sink in an as-yet unknown role. There are lots of theories about who she's playing, so let's just run down the list from what we think is least likely to most. First, an alternate universe Mary Jane Watson. While this is definitely possible given Sink's red hair, Zendaya is returning as MJ.
Mary Jane?
It's Michelle Jones, actually.
So we're not really sure what this choice would add aside from a new love interest. Then Gwen Stacy. A photo was floating around purporting to be of Sink in a blonde wig, but that turned out to be a crew member. The Gwen Stacy story has already been made into multiple movies, so we're not really sure Marvel or Sony want to rehash that. After that, a big swing. A gender-swapped Harry Osborn. A fun idea if nothing else, but she and Peter didn't grow up together, which is a pretty key component of Harry's whole deal. Next, Jean Grey. This is reasonable to think, given how eagerly Marvel Studios head honcho Kevin Feige wants to start making X-Men movies, but there are a few reasons to doubt it. One, making Brand New Day the X-Men launching pad doesn't leave a lot of room for Spider-Man stuff. And two, we know a lot of the Fox X-Men are in Doomsday. It seems like the plan is to clear the board of those versions in Secret Wars, then introduce the new X-Men. Well, how about Carly Cooper? Okay, we said an alternate MJ would just be another love interest for Peter, and that's kind of what Carly is too. But hear us out. She debuted in the Brand New Day comics, so that lines up. She's a police forensics expert, so she could be part of the street-level crime plot. Also, she plays roller derby. That's cool, I guess. And finally, Mayday or Teresa Parker. This is the most persistent rumor about Sink's character, and we think it's the right one, but not quite in the same way most seem to be taking it. In the comics, Mayday was the alternate universe daughter of Peter and Mary Jane, so lots of people seem to think Sink will play the daughter of Tobey Maguire's Peter and Kirsten Dunst's MJ. Others seem convinced that Sink will play a version of Peter's apparent comic sister, Teresa Parker, but we think it's a third option, one that has a lot of Spider-Man history, a clone. More on that in a little while. Stick with us here.
Whoa, listen, I can explain everything. You just have to trust me, please.
Zendaya and Jacob Batalon are coming back as MJ and Ned, though their roles are said to be smaller. John Bernthal is bringing his Punisher over from Daredevil Born Again, and apparently he has a pretty substantial part. Mark Ruffalo is confirmed to appear as a Hulk in some capacity, perhaps as a Savage Hulk, and Michael Mando, who last appeared all the way back in Homecoming, is coming back as Mac Gargan, who in the comics is the Scorpion. Gargan also spent some time as Venom. That's important. And then there are the other actors other than Sink with still unknown roles. Severance star Tremel Tillman has been cast, with some reports saying he's specifically a villain. Melanie Scrofano and Winona Earp seemingly let the cat out of the bag that she's in the movie, even though she tried to put it back. Liza Colon-Zayas from The Bear is also in the film. There are unconfirmed reports Sarah Snook from Succession has been cast as a villain too. Some reports insist Tillman isn't playing the crime lord Tombstone, but it seems like he might. If he isn't, then maybe he's going to be Norman Osborn? Either Snook or Scrofano could be playing Silver Sable, another character widely rumored to be in the film. Colon-Zayas is thought to be playing Rio Morales, mother of the other Spider-Man, Miles. There are also a bunch of B-list villains: Boomerang, Tarantula, Ramrod, rumored to appear. And though there's no casting news for him, the logo on that tank in the early looks seems to all but confirm that Mr. Negative and his army, the Inner Demons, will be a big part of the movie. Alright, now that we've laid out what we know, let's try to put the pieces together. And to be clear, these are all total guesses, complete speculation. But why don't we go down the rabbit hole together? No Way Home sets a whole new status quo for Peter Parker. Nobody remembers that he's Spider-Man or even who he is. He's got a homemade costume and a police scanner app to help him go out and do his hero thing. Early glimpses of Brand New Day have shown that the DIY costume is still in the mix, and would think Peter would still be trying to keep his head down. He occasionally checks in on MJ and Ned from a distance, goes to college, and maybe does a little volunteering. Aunt May worked at the Feast shelter in No Way Home, so a good way for Peter to honor her memory would be to devote some time to their charitable work. That's where he'll get to know Martin Lee, Feast's founder. By all indications, he's a good man who gives back to his community, but he hides some dark secrets. Not only could Feast likewise be where Peter meets Rio Morales, it could also be where Peter meets another volunteer, a young woman in whom he sees a lot of himself. In fact, she's almost exactly like him. Good-hearted but unreliable, obsessed with responsibility, haunted by loss. Her name, Mayday, also reminds him of his aunt. The end of Daredevil Born Again saw Mayor Wilson Fisk make vigilantism illegal and declare,
"And in the immediate future, New York City is under martial law."
So it makes sense that Spider-Man would want to keep his hero activities under the radar. But what would draw him out into the open? How about an all-out gang war in the streets between Mr. Negative's Inner Demons and Tombstone's Magia, which includes Scorpion, Boomerang, Tarantula, and Ramrod? We've already seen footage of Spidey dealing with the Inner Demons full-on tank in some early behind-the-scenes clips. Plus, there's a power vacuum in the New York underworld they'll be looking to fill. The last we saw Frank Castle, the Punisher, he was already in the process of breaking out of Fisk's dungeon for vigilantes, so it's safe to assume that he'll start Brand New Day already out of there, and nothing would be a bigger incentive for him to get out into the streets than a mob war. This could be when he and Spidey first cross paths, but have clearly divergent intentions. Spidey wants to save innocents, Frank wants to take down criminals. As of September 2025, we have no idea if Vincent D'Onofrio will appear as Mayor Fisk in Brand New Day, but would have to think his presence and the effects of his anti-vigilantism law will at least be felt. He'd definitely want to rein in the chaos of a gang war, and who better to bring in to do that than Silver Sable and her mercenary group, the Wild Pack. This already sort of happened in the 2018 Spider-Man video game, yeah, but it's a good idea. At Fisk's behest, Sable and her armored-up Wild Pack hit the streets, getting the Magia and the Inner Demons to fall back into strategic retreat. But one guy who won't stand for a paramilitary group taking over the city on orders from the Kingpin is the Punisher, who marches right toward the Wild Pack's vehicles, looking to single-handedly take them on. Spider-Man tries to stop Frank, knowing full well he can't win on his own. They fight. Sable, who just wants to get paid and be done with the job, releases a secret anti-vigilante weapon.
I have an army. We have a Hulk.
Like we said, the rumor is that the Hulk will be back in full rampage mode in this movie, and we know from Thor Ragnarok that he can be controlled if someone's smart enough to do it. Silver Sable definitely has the smarts and the resources, so we can absolutely envision her opening a big armored crate to reveal that the Savage Hulk is at her command. Hulk versus Punisher versus Spider-Man is a fight you'd imagine filling a fun one-shot comic from the 80s or 90s, and would have to think the Hulk would have the upper hand through most of the fight. Maybe even some other street-level heroes like Daredevil could briefly make cameos and get involved, but the fight will end with the Hulk getting hit with a surprisingly strong punch from Spider-Girl, who swings in and delivers a haymaker in her all-black costume. So the Hulk's out cold, the Wild Pack captures Frank, but Spider-Man and Spider-Girl manage to escape. As the Wild Pack rushes in, the two swing to safety on a rooftop and try to figure each other out. Spider-Man explains that he tried out a black costume once, back when he was Night Monkey. They determine that they can trust each other, so Peter unmasks. Spider-Girl's mask simply moves away from her face, revealing that she's Mayday. Mayday spills what she's been secretly doing at Feast, keeping an eye on Martin Lee, who she suspects is Mr. Negative, but she can't prove it yet. threat. Thanks to Aunt May's former leadership position at Feast, Peter knows how to get into the offices, so they go in together to investigate. In his office, they find proof that not only is Lee Mr. Negative, but he's planning to use a powerful toxin called Devil's Breath to wipe out the Magia completely. It could kill a lot of innocents too, so they know they have to stop it. As Mayday and Peter, Spider-Man and Spider-Girl find a way to get a face-to-face with Silver Sable, claiming that they have information that can stop the gang war. Once they get inside her office, they reveal what they know about Lee and the Devil's Breath plot. Though she appreciates the info about Mr. Negative, she is entirely unconcerned about the threat to innocent life that Devil's Breath poses. Peter and Mayday make the argument that if thousands of New Yorkers are killed under her watch, Sable will be blamed for it, and Fisk won't pay her contract. Sable's still unconvinced, leading Mayday to unintentionally reveal she's Spider-Girl. She gets angry enough to fight, and the Spider-Girl costume suddenly appears on her body. With the revelation that these are vigilantes, Sable calls in her attack dogs to capture them, and Spider-Man and Spider-Girl have to escape once again. After another brief, awkward encounter with MJ, where she mistakes Mayday for Peter's girlfriend, Peter hears on the police radio that the Magia and the Inner Demons are facing off once again. This will be somewhere with lots of innocents, maybe Central Park or in Times Square. Spider-Man and Spider-Girl rush there and spot Mr. Negative preparing to use the Devil's Breath on everyone in the surrounding area. Mayday manages to get the canister away from him. She notices that it's on a timer. Peter, meanwhile, battles Mr. Negative and some Inner Demons, while others fight with Tombstone and his crew. Peter tries to speak to Mr. Negative's good side, but Lee says the Magia deserves what's coming to them. They separated him from his family, and Tombstone specifically made Mr. Negative the way he is by testing a new drug, D-Light, on him. When it looks like Mr. Negative has Spidey down for the count, Silver Sable and the Wild Pack arrive. She has realized that letting all those innocents die will ruin her reputation. The Punisher and Hulk, who have been released from their captivity, join in. They manage to beat back both the Inner Demons and the Magia, but not in time to stop the timer on the Devil's Breath bomb. With no other options to save everyone, Mayday absorbs the Devil's Breath canister into her symbiote suit. Peter tries to stop her, but she insists this is the only way. The bomb goes off and the suit absorbs it. It initially seems like Mayday is alright after the blast, but she collapses in Peter's arms. As she dies, Mayday explains everything. She's a clone created by the Beyond Corporation of someone, but she doesn't remember who. Back during Civil War, the US government had collected DNA samples from blood and hair in the aftermath of the airport battle, as a means to identify and track the heroes involved. Beyond, a government contractor, started a pilot program to clone them in the event the originals died or went rogue. At some point recently, Beyond lost all trace of who they were cloning or why, so the project was abandoned. Mayday was simply cut loose. She chose the name Mayday for herself because it felt right. Also, remember how Willem Dafoe's Norman said,
Someone's living in my house. Oscorp doesn't exist.
Well, there is a Norman Osborn living in that house, and he has a company. It just has a different name, the Beyond Corporation, but it can still have its ties to the Beyonders too. Secret Wars is coming after all. So, how'd Mayday end up with a symbiote suit? Well, Beyond has a lot of projects. When Eddie Brock left behind a small piece of the Venom symbiote in Mexico during his brief sojourn to the MCU at the end of No Way Home, that piece was seized by the US government, of course, and made its way to Beyond for testing and research. As Mayday left Beyond, it attached to her. Now, while she dies, the symbiote leaves her body. It briefly attaches to Peter, but Mac Gargan, who has seen how powerful Spider-Girl was with the suit, attacks Peter and takes the symbiote for himself. Michael Mando has teased that Gargan could become Venom in his Instagram stories, so let's take him at his word. Confused by what the symbiote has made him, Gargan swings away. With Mr. Negative's Devil's Breath plot foiled, he tries Plan B. He finds Tombstone in the midst of the battle and begins a mano-a-mano fight to the death with him. Spider-Man sees this and chooses to try to stop it rather than go after Gargan. Spidey gets between the two titans and does little to pull them apart, so he waves down the Hulk and brings the Green Goliath over. Hulk runs through Tombstone, leaving Spider-Man and Mr. Negative to fight it out once again. And once again, Peter tries to appeal to Mr. Negative's good side, Martin Lee. He continues to fail until he removes his mask and tells Martin that no one remembers this, but his aunt was May Parker. She died senselessly after spending a lifetime trying to help others. She said that,
"With great power, there must also come great responsibility."
And deep down, that's what Lee believes too. Finally moved by the memory of May, Mr. Negative becomes Martin Lee again and allows himself to be taken into Silver Sable's custody. Silver Sable offers Spider-Man a spot in the Wild Pack, but he turns her down, saying he's better off working alone. Everyone he gets close to ends up dying. In a post-credit scene, Rio could introduce Peter to her son Miles. Meanwhile, Gargan Venom sits in a darkened room. "We want Spider-Man," they say, setting up Peter and the symbiotes inevitably being united. Did we get any of this right? We'll only know for sure when Spider-Man Brand New Day hits theaters on July 31st, 2026.